I have a lot of concerns, which I speak a lot about in my content, about the generation coming up, which I'm involved in. I am in my late 20s, and I'm even more concerned about the generation coming after me. The generation that's about 10 years or so around that age range, younger than me, which is really the age range that did a lot of years of COVID in school. And not only just that, they grew up with social media basically being completely normal in all of our lives. A lot of them are in elementary school and already on social media, have a smartphone, engaging with advanced technology, AI that's practically distinguishable from reality. So they're really getting a false perception of what the world is like. And not only that, there's a real big disconnect in the way they interact, and it's already happening with adults, of course, and people my age especially, and the humanity as a whole. But it's really bad in the United States. One, and two is that at least if you're, I guess, 40 plus, you grew up in a world where there is no social media. You know exactly what it's like to live in a world without it. They've lived pretty much more than half of their lives without it, even being in existence. So um, there's a difference in that generation. And the problem with them is it's kind of hard for them to relate just because they didn't grow up with it. They don't know what it's like to be in their teens, in their 20s, even, maybe even in their early 30s, whatever. They don't know what it's like because when you're a millennial, Gen Zer, Gen Alpha now that's coming up, you pretty much grew up with information and a smartphone at your fingertips, one, and a ton of addictions in terms of social media, right? You post a picture, you get likes and comments, right? It releases dopamine, it becomes addicting. It's addicting just as any drug like heroin, right? They start doing that. They as social media has progressed over time to where it's become the shorts, the quick videos, the showing you a lot in just a very short amount of time. They could easily manipulate you because that's who's controlling these algorithms, right? It's the powers that be, who I always talk about. Therefore, they're controlling the minds of the youth and putting certain things that are toxic right in front of them from the get-go. They're seeing these magnificent lifestyles. It's maybe celebrities they follow, or certain social media influencers, which are really big now. They influence more so my generation than even Hollywood celebrities do now, and musicians. So they're seeing even, they're seeing really beautiful people, maybe even people who do work, who do Photoshop on their pictures, maybe people that aren't even real because of AI. It's really hard to tell the difference nowadays, right? And we all know, if you know anything about the powers that be, I mean, they have much more advanced AI and technology in general than what the public has. So my point is, there's a really big disconnect with reality because now the younger generation is not interacting with each other, right? They're more so interacting and getting dopamine, getting entertainment, getting pleasure, getting all sorts of things through a screen, right? They can talk to their friends, text messaging, phone calls, FaceTime, playing video games together, all sorts of things. You could stream together even, which of course I think is much more positive thing to be doing. But anyway, what can we do about this, right? Because I can go on and on about the problems, and excuse me if I digress a lot. I digress a lot in my videos because I'm trying to get people to see the bigger picture and how plenty of other things connect, and how it really goes back to one giant occult that's controlling everything. And that might sound crazy at first when you first hear that, but if you know anything about how the powers that be operate and what's really going on in this world, there's a giant satanic occult essentially that's controlling the world. That's weird as that might sound. That's what it is, right? So when you know that these guys are the ones that control the flow of information, and that includes social media 100% and X, just because people think Elon Musk and Donald Trump are saving the world and freedom of speech, I mean, it's ridiculous that people still believe politics and billionaires are going to save us at this point. But what we need to do is we need to reform education. And I think even your average everyday person would agree that the modern day education system needs to be reformed. It needs to be changed all around. It's not working because obviously we have a society that's collapsing. Obviously the money that parents pay or that kids are getting in debt for when they go to the college level especially, it's not worth what they pursue. The juice is not worth the squeeze for them. And we're really seeing that now with the average college student having about $40,000 a debt. I mean, that's ridiculous to have in your early 20s, right? Because that's ideally when you're supposed to graduate. So we all know that the education system doesn't also teach you anything. It teaches you their system, the occults, the government, their way of life, and what they want you to know, and it hides what they don't want you to know. It's very simple, right? So the whole education system needs to be reformed, and it's going to have to start from when we're really young, and parents are really going to have to be more involved than they ever have been if we're going to even make this happen. And everyone in the community, not just parents, but everyone in the community, whether you have kids or not, if you care at all about the next generation coming up, so that we're not going to sit back and say what's wrong with these kids and have a bunch of delinquents when they get older, because we're already seeing the delinquency with that generation and how they always want to fight. They have a lot of anger. It's probably because what they see on social media. That's my guess on it, and just a lot of male loneliness as well, not being acknowledged. That's a whole different topic that I do talk about on this channel. But for example, right, and this might sound controversial, but we need to teach kids how to defend themselves physically and with weapons. We need to teach them, men and women, self-defense. We need to teach them offense, simple boxing. We need to teach them proper diet, hydration. We need to teach them how to maybe even clean water. And I should say maybe. We should teach them how to access clean water, because we all know the chemicals that the government puts in our water system and all that, and what they put in our drinking water. If we educate our kids on the occult and what's right and wrong, truly, what real morality and immorality is, because if you're relying on a government institution to teach you about morality, you're insane. You're asking them to get rear-ended with lies and to be completely immoral, if that's what you're relying on. A government institution to teach your children, or yourself even, what's right and what's wrong, what's moral, what's not, what's true, and what's a lie. We need to teach kids exercise, how to properly be in shape, about actual health, how to stay in shape. We need to teach them mental health, the trivia methods, how to gather information, how to find out what's right, what's wrong, how to put things to test, how to be action takers, how to be leaders, how to not fall for deceptions, how to not fall for lies, how to be able to identify truth. Maybe we could even teach them about, and again, I shouldn't say maybe, but could teach kids, and it can get extensive, right, when they get older. Teach them about symbolism, teach them about numbers, teach them about our true ancient past and what's gone on, and the wars that's gone on, and how police and military shouldn't exist again, because if we had a society of people that actually cared for each other and had each other's backs and knew right from wrong and knew what's truth and what a lie is, we wouldn't even need police or military. There wouldn't be wars. There wouldn't be chaos amongst communities. Even if there was some chaos that erupted, people should be adults and be responsible enough to handle it themselves. So there's a lot we need to teach kids. We need to teach them about social media, obviously, the dangers of it, because there is a bright side of social media. It could be used for talking to your friends, spreading positive messages, communicating maybe with family even that's far away, you know. It could be used for good. It could be used to meet significant others, right, as we see a lot in today's world, which I think is a little more unfortunate, because online, of course, is deceiving, and it's a whole different topic. I'm going to get into that in another video, of course, but we need to teach them too, because we hear all this talk about, you know, pornography, how easy that is to access. If we have proper education on it, and if we actually have morals that look down upon these things, and especially violence too, like hurting other people, unless the other person struck them first, unless there's an actual reason for violence to happen, we need to teach them what right violence and what wrong violence is. We need to teach them about the smartphone and how the smartphone could easily be used by people with not so good intentions to deceive people. We need to teach them there's a difference between the virtual world and the real world. We need to teach them that money, to not judge people and look at people based on money, and that life is not you go to work and then you come home and then maybe you go to the gym, or maybe you do a hobby, or maybe you just watch TV or scroll on social media all the rest of your evening, whatever you do. We need to teach them that there's more to life, because the concept of money and all of us having this belief that it actually has meaning, it's the biggest thing that's enslaving humanity, is money. Because we're obviously all not living fulfilling lives, the vast majority of us. And it's mainly because finances, I would say the biggest reason a lot of us aren't living fulfilling lives right now is financially. And because, of course, as I was saying earlier, this lack of actual human connection. And people actually forming real connections with their community and all that. So there's obviously, there's a lot we need to fix, and I can yap about it all day. What I think we need to fix and how we could do it, and what exactly we need to do, and how we could perhaps maybe in our community start something for kids. It's not like a church, or we're teaching them about religion and Jesus Christ and the typical stuff that people try to do, and teach them about the Bible. I'm not saying the Bible's bad or anything, or there's not anything to learn from any religion out there. We have to teach them that it's not the one all be all, again, to outsource your life, or just say sit back and I'm going to give my life to an external being and not do anything here. We really need to try to do something, because it's our responsibility as grown adults to do something not only for ourselves and for other people who are already grown, who might not have ever heard of this information that I'm talking about, or might not even be aware there's real issues out there. There's obvious issues like social media, like college and the current education system and the cost of housing and food and gas and all the obvious things, right? But we're not looking deeper. We're not looking at, all right, we have to stop trusting in the beast system and voting for politics, and stop listening to them, and stop believing their words, and stop putting our faith in these men and women who keep proving that they don't have our best interest at heart, right? I mean, they prove time and time again, and I already want to get into it, but politics, billionaires, whoever that you see on TV or that has millions of followers, they don't do what they say they're going to do, right? So we have to teach our kids to not trust politicians, to not trust the state, to not trust anything these occult members do or tell us, because their agenda is to enslave us. Most people in this world don't want to hurt other people, right? Maybe in this immoral world, there's a little more people out there because they've created an angry world of people who want to inflict violence. And again, this isn't most people, but we live in an angry world, and it's because of the world that they created, and they did it all on purpose, obviously. And it's to get us turned completely against each other. So instead of hating the real perpetrators, we hate each other because of our race, our sexual orientation, our religion, our political views, our philosophical views, whatever it might be, right? Whatever it might be. They use everything in the book to divide us. They even have a huge divide with us on gender, as obviously I speak about on my channel, the big divide between men and women. And I'm going to make a video after this, actually, or maybe tomorrow, depending if I have time, but definitely within the next few days here, talking about incels, femcels, a lot of what I see on X and Instagram, and the dating and all that was going on with it. But I feel bad, man, because this even ties to dating, what we can do. We need to teach our daughters, especially with social media, because the reason why dating is so bad today is because of the amount of options that it offers women. We've created a society, right, that completely socially isolates the average man, because let's be real, we all know that if you could have all the social media profiles in the world and dating profiles, it's not easy to get a match. It's not easy to get a girl to go out on a date. It's not easy at all, actually, for the average guy. For, if you're Zac Efron, Justin Bieber, pretty boy, tall guy, rich guy, popular guy, high social status, it's easy maybe. But for the average guy, and we're talking 80% of men here, it's not easy at all to even get a date. But if you're a woman, and mind you, you don't have to be good looking or anything like that, or have money or anything going for you, really. You just have to exist, and you will get interactions with the opposite sex no matter what. The problem is men aren't getting those interactions, the vast majority of men. So there's this big disconnect between the vast majority of men and with women. So it's a problem, man. And it's because of the digital world. It's because a lot of people aren't living in reality because of social media, right? A lot of people make stupid content. They make videos of them dancing or just pure entertainment. They get 1 million followers or hundreds of thousands of followers, and, it goes to their head, of course. So we need to teach our sons and daughters and the youth how to identify good men, bad men. And again, it boils down to proper education from when they're really young, teaching them what's right and what's wrong, what's moral and what's not. If they can really identify that, then I think a lot of people wouldn't have issues finding partners. So it goes deep, man. I can keep going on it, but I don't want to rant and make such long videos here. I try to keep my videos like 15 minutes at most. So I don't know how long I've gone here, but I really want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments what else you think we can do to help educate the youth and what we could potentially do for the generations coming up here.